EdTech Mondays Uganda is supported by the Mastercard Foundation Center for Innovative Teaching and Learning in partnership with the Innovation Village. Welcome to the show this month of July. EdTech Mondays is supported by the Mastercard's Foundation Center for Innovative Teaching and Learning in partnership with the Innovation Village. Now, according to a report by UNESCO, Cracking the Code, Girls and Women's Education in STEM states that women account for only 35% of STEM students enrolled in higher education worldwide. This issue was highlighted at the recent EdTech conference hosted by the Mastercard Foundation in Abuja, Nigeria. The conference emphasized the gender gap in digital literacy and access to technology. While statistics presented revealed that although EdTech startups are growing across Africa, female-led ventures and those focused on girls' education remain underfunded. For example, in 2023, only a small fraction of total funding for tech companies in Africa went to EdTech startups, with an even smaller portion benefiting initiatives aimed at girls and women. And sadly, this rate starts to drop drastically as they transition to the secondary school. But what exactly really happens? Where do they go? And this is exactly why we're having this conversation on gender equality this month of July on EdTech Mondays. And this also explains why we have a panel of only ladies, brilliant ladies that are all in different spheres of influence. And I just want to give them a minute to introduce who they are to you, our audience, so that we get to know the people that will be speaking to us. I want to start with Shelley, who's at my far left. Who is Shelley and what do you do? And we are actually delighted to have you on the panel today.
Thank you, Sandra. I'm really happy to be here. I'm Shelley Gladys Nachedre, and I work with the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance. I'm a senior IT officer and I also do intellectual property management. So I'm a specialist in that area and I can't wait to dive into this conversation.
We'll be putting you on the spot when it comes to policy perspectives in advancing EdTech for the females. Let's get deeper. You know, when they say when you have a teacher on the panel, you have to behave because a lot can go right or left. So thank you so much for joining us, Marie Goretti. Who are you? And we're excited to have you on the panel today.
Thank you, Sandra. Just for the record, I didn't move with a cane.
Yeah.
So no canes here. My name is Javira Marie Goretti, a very passionate teacher of mathematics and physics. I'm very glad to be here. I'm currently stationed at Gaza High School, and we have girls only there. Since we are talking about girls today, I think by the end of the session, I will have given all the information needed so that we see more girls in the tech field.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Over to you, Mariana Peel. Very glad to have you on the panel today.
Thanks, Sandra. And I just want to say kudos to teachers. We're talking about EdTech, and education has been one powerful tool that has empowered me as a girl child. And so, yeah, I'm so happy that I'm sharing this panel with a teacher. I am Marina Pio. I am a journalist, an entrepreneur, and also an advocate for girl child education. I am currently studying my master's at UC Berkeley, and I am an innovator when it comes to sort of like innovating solutions really address some of the underlying issues here in our country. I'm so privileged to be here, and I am really interested into this conversation and how it can uplift the girl child.
Shelley, I want to start with you. When you see today's topic, what comes to your mind first?
Oh, well, actually, I took this up because it was very exciting and interesting. I personally, I love to see more women in the tech. I love to see more women taking up positions, leadership positions in ministries like ICT, for example, because it's only when you're in those positions that your voices will be heard. And then talking about the technology perspective, you know, technology is quite ever evolving. We have emerging technologies and all that. So we want to see our country move with the rest of the world. So having women who are passionate in these positions and advocating for our rights and what we need so that we can advance ourselves to get to those places where we see other leaders, then it's really passionate. We have, I personally, at the beginning of the year, I led a campaign that was basically for women innovators, women doing research, and then providing with them awareness and a lot of sensitization to do with intellectual property so that they can grow their innovations from their desks, from their labs, but also put them to the market, that they can grow, scale up, and make more money out of whatever they're doing. Yeah, so it's very interesting and very personal.
There is always the narrative, and I'm sure we can all agree that sometimes people say the females are not interested in the difficult things, innovating, getting into, the difficult things that the males seem to do so easily. I want to speak to the teacher on the panel. From your interaction with young women and girls, what is their general perspective when it comes to, innovating, different ideas in the EdTech space?
Thank you, Sandra. I could say I'm privileged to be at Gaza High School because these girls are quite empowered right from home. They have the smartphones, they have the tabs, they have the laptops. So they are already informed and aware of the opportunities available. And I want to tell you, they want to grab, whether it is app development, whether it is website, whatever comes their way in tech, they are ready to grab it. I think what we are discussing here would touch more the girls in the rural areas. Those in towns or in the big schools, I think we could say are 80% there. They have the opportunities, they have the gadgets. But I think I'm more concerned about the girls in the rural areas that are not yet accessing. And I think our deliberations here would gear more towards those ones. But where I am, the girls love it.
On the ground,
yes.
Innovating and creating new solutions in the EdTech space.
Just recently, actually, they were asked for app ideas in the health sector. And I was surprised at how many ideas, over 30 within 3 days, had come up with ideas. So for the app schools, they are at least there. And they want it, anything scientific. Science, yes.
What would you say we could attribute that to exactly? Is it the access to technology or the gadgets and the like, or the proper internet connectivity? What would you attribute that to?
It's a combination of all. First of all, the parents are supportive. Like I said, they have those gadgets.
Yes.
Secondly, the school environment is also supportive. We create awareness, so they are aware of all those opportunities. And the internet is there. Like at school, we have Renew that is managing or providing internet. So it's a combination of things. So I could say they are lucky and good enough they are grabbing the opportunities. Yes.
I think the key word there is that they're lucky, but also they are grabbing the opportunity. Sometimes you're lucky and you don't grab the opportunity.
Yes.
Now, Marion, I do understand that you work closely with young women on the ground level in rural areas with your Girl Alive. I hope I got that right.
Yes.
Girl Alive Uganda. Just to explain to us exactly what your experience is like with these girls. What is their biggest challenge? Internet connectivity, not having access to phones, because we've looked at a very alarming statistic right here. What is the main issue?
I think, Sandra, I think we need to look at the socio-economic challenges that the girls are really facing, right? There is a very clear distinction between a privileged girl and an underprivileged girl in Uganda. And it's about time that we sort of do the talk rather than continue to just talk. There's need for intentionality about empowerment for these girls. And the actual challenge is lack of a supportive environment where even if you would love to thrive, the circumstances continue to push you back. Even when you get access to UPE, you get to school, but you're starving because you don't have food to eat to keep you in school. Even when you have the passion and desire to access a computer, or you've had someone, but there's no electricity that is going to allow you to charge that phone. Even when you'd love to study and take on science, you don't have power that allows you to study late in the night, right? Or even when you desire to get access to education, your parents want you to go get married, right? Or you're looked at as some opportunity that is going to change the family because there is a certain rich man that wants to take you as a wife, right? And we're in 2024, for heaven's sake. And at this time, we wouldn't expect that those challenges exist. But to date, there are parents who have no idea that access to social media would open up doors for a young girl, right, down in the village. And so we are looking at lack of supportive environments, that even within schools, instead of the kids being supported to focus, the schools themselves are trying to grapple with a lot of like challenges like security or access to dormitories, access to reading materials, access to desks, access to like even the living condition itself is not supportive of you to stay focused.
Let me again pose this question to you, Marion. Would you agree that we are seeing an increased rate of adoption when it comes to EdTech within the EdTech space within Uganda among the females?
Have there been efforts? Yes. Are we there? No. Is there a growth? We are stunted. We are stuck in a certain sort of position where we think there's a lot of awareness. So there's a lot of awareness. There's a lot of talk about, oh yeah, let's adopt, EdTech. Let's get technology to young people. There is a lot of conversation going on about that. But in terms of growth, I don't think we are there.
Let's get teacher Mary Goretti's thoughts. Do you think there's been growth in terms of innovation when it comes to the EdTech space among the females in this country?
Thank you, Sandra.
You disagree with what Marion just said?
No, I actually want to agree with her. That yes, they are trying to create awareness, but probably the target group is not being accessed. So still, those in the urban and peri-urban are the ones accessing that and probably taking advantage. That is my thought, but I want to agree with her. Yes, the awareness there are efforts, but we are not yet there, especially for that child in the village.
Well, let's see if Shelley agrees or disagrees with the two panel speakers. What are your general thoughts? I know the government is doing its role, and we can see some of the work that it is doing on ground. But again, how successful have all these initiatives been on ground? You're hearing the mindset aspect, the issue of accessibility. How is that looking like for you from where you sit? More or less as an implementer.
Oh, yes. Thank you, ladies. Thank you for putting me on the spot. I agree there are efforts, but then there is progress. There is progress. And what I want to encourage all of us to understand and appreciate is that this is collaborative effort. So if private sector, if the innovators, the entrepreneurs, the journalists, the government development partners all came to support government efforts, to build on to the efforts that are being done, then we shall have more progress. We are actually working with the private sector. We are working with academia. We are on ground, but as I've said, the more collective effort we have, then we shall be able to cover as many and to reach out as to many young girls and young women out there. Yes, so how are we tracking this progress? Because we might not, we want to be at 100%. We all want to be at 100%. But 60% is some progress. If you're coming from 20 to 60, then that is, that is some work that also needs to be acknowledged. So we developed the digital transformation roadmap. I know we have lots of policies in place, and there was an implementation gap. So this roadmap was aligned to all the existing policies and the strategies that are there to help us track. If we have, in terms of connectivity, if we are at 50%, for example, we want to cover the entire country. We want to be at least at 90% in the next 4 years. How do we get there? And that is what the roadmap speaks to. And it's 360 in terms of, it speaks to issues to do with infrastructure, what infrastructure is required. If it is the backbone, how much more do we need to reach out to the areas that have not yet been reached out to? So there is something that we are doing called a last mile connectivity to ensure that we reach to the most rural people. How can we grow our innovativeness? We have a very huge startup, ecosystem within our country. Everybody is doing something. But how can we get from these levels? Can we have some unicorns out of our ecosystem so that external economies can also utilize our services? We utilize Uber, we utilize Glovo. We need some of these products to be homegrown. right from us. And then, of course, our policy is a very key aspect as well. So there is progress.
There is progress indeed.
Yeah.
I would want us to, we'll take a short break, but I just want us to reflect on the initiatives that are working currently from your different walks of life. What initiatives are working that are empowering these young women on ground to actively take part in EdTech innovation? And that's a conversation we'll be coming back to shortly. But we also really want you, our viewers, to be part of the conversation. So do use the hashtag EdTech Mondays on our social media platforms. But there is also a QR code. All you have to do is actually just scan it, and you'll get more information about what the show is all about and what we are trying to create in this country, creating a community of young people, of policymakers, of different stakeholders that are very passionate about advancing EdTech, because we know technology is here and it is here to help. We just have to know how to use it. There is also a link right below the screen. All you have to do is actually just follow it, and you'll be able to get more information on EdTech Mondays. We'll take a short break, and my great panel speakers and I will be right back to speak more on gender equality, the challenges and the solutions. EdTech Mondays Uganda is supported by the Mastercard Foundation Center for Innovative Teaching and Learning in partnership with the Innovation Village. Welcome back. Glad to know you're still with us here on EdTech Mondays. Now, we just want to talk solutions. We understand there is growth. We understand there is still some issues, but let us now speak some solutions. And I want to start with you, Marion. What are some of the initiatives that are really getting it right from where you come from?
Yeah, thanks so much, Sandra. Let's look at some of the entrepreneurs, young people within their local communities that have decided to address challenges and or are empowering and supporting fellow youths within their communities. So look at Tech for Girls, for example. This is just a group that sort of allows you as a young person, as a woman, to use technology and also learn how to use technology. And maybe Tech for Girls is not necessarily everywhere, but at least such initiatives are able to sort of start the conversation. When you look at Camera for Girls, there are certain school clubs, personally when I was in school, that I had to be a part of, that for some reason, I was part of Adobe Youth Forum, World Starts With Me Club, that took me to Gayaza, where I learned how to use a computer and then went back to school. And so school clubs at this point were sort of intentional about seeing the gap. And we're able to facilitate, right? To date, I think we can speak about media and information literacy for children. These are programs that are very intentional about, can we see how young people use the media to better themselves, to access accurate information. I personally lead a team of fact checkers here that are deliberately debunking myths and misconceptions around, for instance, technology, right? You can't right now in 2024 tell someone that the only benefit technology will give you is to get spoiled. That's an outright misconception.
Over to you, Teacher Goriti. What are some of the initiatives that are actually working, and how do our young girls and women get access to them?
Thank you, Sandra. I think she has talked about a lot to those who can access the smartphones and the like. I'm going to talk about an initiative we actually used during COVID-19 that really reached out to students as far as Gulu, Kabale, and for some of those students that could not access a phone, like she has said, a teacher is pivotal. So they would get a teacher who would project using his phone or laptop, project, and the students, the village students, because that was COVID-19 then, would sit in a hall and they would benefit, would have online lessons for all the subjects actually. It was an initiative by Mr. Dungu. I think he's currently in Ministry of Education, somewhere in Ministry of Education. So all he would have to do was give the teachers some airtime or data. And he would reach out to as many. For them it was free, as long as they could get the data. We couldn't get the data from them, for them. But it really worked, because, like I've mentioned, we had someone in Kabale there, a teacher who was really selfless, would connect his phone to a projector and a group of over 50 or 60. And we've had, over the years, because it's now about 4 years, some of those who benefited have come back to say thank you, thank you. So I think even now, because it's still ongoing during the holidays, it is called HELP. It is a holistic e-learning platform. And it is, like I've said, it is free. The links, we usually share the links as much as we can.
People must want something to get it in the end.
Yes.
Shelley, what are some of the initiatives that are working, and how do our viewers get access to them? Because it's clear when you speak to some people, they're looking for opportunities, but they do not know where to start from. So where can they start from where you come from?
Okay, thank you so much, and really loved the conversation. Just speaking from people must want something, I think we need to encourage them to look out for these opportunities. Information is currently available online, on social media pages, on the official websites of of the universities, of the ministries, of the innovation hubs. So they need to interest themselves so that they can reach out and identify which opportunities would interest them best. But far from that, we also reach out to them through the contact persons at the districts. If it's at the university, we reach out to the lecturers so that they can extend this information within the region. Currently, we are doing something called a DigiTrack, where we take the computers we put them into a truck and then go park at a town center, and then encourage people to come in and equip themselves with the basic skills to do with technology, so that they can enable access the services that are being extended to them, but then also inform themselves more. And then we are also running a project called UJ Connect. It's in partnership with the Japanese government to skill as well as grow our innovations. So we put out a call after 4 months, encouraging young people within the different regions to sign up so that they can accelerate and grow their ideas to a certain level, so that we can compete with economies, not only the Ugandan economy, but also economies outside. And we are also working on what we call business process outsourcing. And basically this is to ensure that the young people, the young girls or women, using their gadgets to access the internet, can then come up with something and then work remotely. If you are an expert in accounting, can you do some accounting services for someone in the Philippines, for someone in India, for example? So we are promoting business process outsourcing, and we are reaching out to development partners to encourage young people, provide these business opportunities for the people. We have partnerships with Helpware, and this is it's a call center organization whereby they do back-end support to the likes of Google, the likes of TikTok, and we believe that these are some of the opportunities that the young people can pick up on. You do not have to leave Tororo to earn. So you can stay within your environment that you are comfortable with, grow your livelihood within the area, but as well as adding value to another entity.
Well, Teacher Marian, just your parting shots, a few reflections on what we need to be doing if we want to close the gender gap, especially in the EdTech space. What are your parting shots?
Right now, the new curriculum is, I must say, it has done a lot. It moved away from teacher-centered to learner-centered. So the students have a lot of activities. Actually, you give an activity for the students to discover for themselves, and you simply wrap up. The hardest part for the teacher now is planning. What activity am I going to give, so that it brings out their creativity, their collaborative nature? Because actually, as they sit, if you're to visit a classroom now, we no longer sit facing in front. They sit in groups for collaboration. Assessment right now is on the skill. What can the learner do?
What can the learner do?
Yes. Previously, it was about what can the learner recall, probably. But now, it is what can the learner do. So as I go to class, or as the teachers go to class, at the end of my lesson or topic, I need to see what the learner can do, what generic skill have they acquired, are they good listeners now, can they critically think, can they collaborate. So in a nutshell, I think the new curriculum is doing us good, only that probably for some people who have not yet really known what it's all about, there is still some misconception. But if all stakeholders embrace it, I think it will go a long way in addressing some of these issues. Yes.
Shelley, your parting shots, how do we close this gap? How do we work together to close this gap?
Actually, amongst the things that we are doing, we are being very intentional. And for example, there is a digital rights program that is being done in partnership with Enable. It's specifically for digitalizing, for supporting women in terms of promoting their digital rights. We've seen issues to do with cyberbullying, issues to do with misuse of data. So this program is put in place to ensure that the girls can speak up for themselves and promote their businesses and use the internet for their own good. So I think my parting shot would be to encourage the girls in whatever spaces they are to take up as many opportunities as they see. They need to gain the confidence and and the time, and they also need to create the time, to take the work, to do the work. Yes. As they reach out. Yeah.
So thank you so much to my great panel speakers. Thank you so much, Shelley. Thank you so much, Goretti. Thank you so much, Marion. I think they've brought out all the things that we wanted to hear today, be it the strides we're making, the challenges that are currently present when it comes to closing the gender gaps. But I think what has stood out for me is the fact that how bad you want something is usually how much you'll be able to get it. So as a young person, you're out there as a young woman, a young girl, you're thinking of how do I get better? But you have access to TikTok, you have access to Facebook, you have access to Instagram. But what kind of content are you actually putting out there? If someone is searching for someone who does something, if they are to look up and search for your name, what are they going to find? Are you selling yourself short or are you selling yourself better? I think as the government is doing its role, the parents need to be active, to take a very active role in how they mentor the children as well. It will require a holistic approach from this conversation if we are to close this gender gap that we continue to see. But these have been our thoughts. We'd like to hear from you. Do remember to be part of the conversation using the EdTech Mondays hashtag on our social media platforms, but also do scan the QR code that I believe is right now on the screen, and also follow the link. Be part of this EdTech community. Share who you are, share your startup as much as possible. Often you'll hear that you need to make noise about what you do, and that's how people will hear you. So please do the work and hopefully the right opportunities will come. Thank you so much for being part of us. I've been your host, Sandra Kahumza Twinga.